changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more.
I'm grateful for my guest today. Interestingly, I knew this person. Many of the people who I've had the opportunity to introduce you to recently have been people that I did not know all that well. And part of the reason that I have wanted to do this series of interviews is so that I can get to know my fellow speakers. As I've shared ad nauseum, there is this idea that, professional speakers all know each other. Well, unless you're active in one of the speakers associations or something like that, we tend not to know each other, because if you hire me or her, the other one of us is not there. So today I'm interviewing, and we're going to get to meet Lauren Schieffer. She's a CSP. That means she's a certified speaking professional, and she goes by the Colonel's Daughter. Her passion is helping organizations build their next generation of leaders. She has 9 essentials of significant leadership to transform the way managers think, make decisions, and act toward the people they lead. It's a fresh new perspective and a street smart approach to what works and what doesn't, helping speed transformation in 3 critical areas: knowledge, skills, and relationships. And I think if you cover knowledge, skills, and relationships, you've certainly got the best, the basics covered. It's a Monday morning. Good morning, Lauren. Thank you for being here with us. Nice to see you again.
Good morning. Thank you. It is absolutely my privilege. A little earlier than I'm accustomed to, but gives me the opportunity to see the sunrise.
Nice. That is one of the things that we've sort of worked on over the years, is trying to figure out, is this the best time to do this? And it seems to be. Mm-hmm. So how's the weather there, since I'll be there tomorrow?
Well, yesterday it was 75 degrees, a little breezy, but absolutely lovely. Today it's supposed to be rainy and probably max out about 50. Oh. But when the variations stop going from 70 to 30 to 60 to 30, and we start leveling out right around 40 to 50, we know spring is coming.
I lived there 20 years and I never noticed that. I mean, I did notice the fluctuations, but I never noticed that, once we hit consistency, then it started to climb, climb consistently. So go ahead, please.
The fluctuations are actually based on the fact that we sit right, because Kansas City sits right on I-70, which is actually the general line where the jet stream flows across the country. So we sit right on the jet stream. So one day we could be above the jet stream and the next below, and that's where the temperature fluctuations come from. But when they start to level out, you're like, oh, spring is coming.
Again, I lived there 20 years. I did not know that.
I'm a nerd.
No, I love that. I find it interesting. And I actually took flying lessons, and a large part of that was learning to do your own weather prediction, and which is one of the reasons I don't fly.
Well, my husband is a private pilot, and he watches the weather 2-3 times a day.
Yeah. It's a necessity when you do that. And I just was not that into the weather. I was like, why can't I just go with what Joe Lauria says on the news? All right. So tell us the Colonel's Daughter. Where did the moniker come from?
In the very simplest form, my dad.
Okay.
My father was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. Mm-hmm. And just about everything that I know and teach about leadership, I either learned from him or I learned from connections that I would have never had I not been his daughter. So it was a natural brand.
I get it. You could have chosen a lot of different monikers. There were a lot of different brands, and it's an interesting choice. What sort of response do you get when you talk to people and tell them that that's your brand?
It actually is a very sticky brand. People remember it a great deal. And I
Mm,
think the value of it is that it wasn't something cute and clever that I decided on. I've
mhm.
had other brands in my speaking career. I've been speaking for between 20 and 25 years. Um, and I've had other brands. The one that I was running with at one point, I uh, hit a pothole because of a trademarking issue. And so in rebranding myself, I well, and it wasn't even my idea. It was a mentor. She was like, "Lauren, what are you not seeing here?" And I said, "I don't know. What am I not seeing?" She goes, "Lauren, you're the colonel's daughter. You offer kernels of wisdom. You quote your father all the time. Why are you not seeing that?" And I went, "Oh, I guess because it was too close to me." But when I did rebrand, it was the first time in my speaking career that the human being, the message, and the brand were in 100% complete alignment. And
That's
that's when
wonderful.
my career really took off because it's just who I am. It's not something that I have to put on. And it's a very sticky brand. I have met people at conferences where I've introduced myself. You know, I'm Lauren Schieffer from Kansas City. And they'll look at my badge and it'll say the Colonel's daughter. And they'll say, "Oh, I've heard of you."
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, well, I'm so glad that you found your sticky brand. There's a guy here at the Florida Speakers Association that I'm um, coaching, mentoring, and he is like most people. First thing he did was built a website, and then he was like, "I speak on leadership and voice coaching and this and that and this and that." And I'm like, "No, people need a peg to hang your hat on. When they think of Lauren, Colonel's daughter. When they think of Will, they think of complaint free." And that is the hardest thing I find for most speakers is to sit down and dig a hole and go deep in it before they try and go wide. So I want to get into some of the Colonel's kernels. So let's talk about some of your favorite pieces of wisdom from your dad. If somebody was to say, "Give me the top three," what would they be?
The number one would be Dad always said, anyone can be successful, kiddo. Making money, losing money, making it back. Anyone can do that. Choose to be significant. That would be the first one.
All right. Well, let's don't move on to the second one then. Let's stay with that. Anyone
Okay.
can be successful, but
Mhm.
choose to be significant. Do you
So you
feel
have
that
to
people have
understand
a
the difference.
so give us the difference?
Success is inwardly focused. Success is about how much money you make, what your title is, where your parking spot is, what accolades you can claim, achievements, trophies.
Mhm.
Success is about me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's all that you focus on, it ends up being hollow. Significance, on the other hand, is outwardly focused. It has nothing whatsoever to do with how much money you make or what your title is. Significance is about how many lives you touch and the manner in which you choose to impact them, because how we impact others is a choice. So significance is about we, success is about me.
There's so much in that. I absolutely love that because to me, significance is enduring, success is fleeting. When you're
Exactly.
gone, your success is done. I will not
And
write
it can be
another
ripped
book.
out from under you at any time.
That is true. It's ephemeral. Yes. But when you're gone, you're going to leave some sort of memory or significant legacy. And how and in what ways are you going to be significant? I think that's absolutely brilliant. Great,
Yeah.
great advice. All right, so that's your fate or your top one piece of advice from the Colonel. Give us another.
The one that has been very impactful for me over the last couple of years, and just as a setup, in March of 2020, anyone in the meetings industry got the rug pulled out from under us.
Yes, we did.
And I watched everything that I had on my calendar for 2020. And 2020 was set up to be the best year I'd ever had. I watched it slide off of my calendar in 72 consecutive hours. And so I curled up in a corner and sucked my thumb for about 2 days, processing anger and fear and shame and all of those things that we go through when we're afraid. And then the Colonel's voice. Here's the second one. Work the problem. Use what you've got, kid, and just show up. So how that manifested itself for me at the time, what can I do right now? Well, I can finish my third book. I can sit right here at my desk and finish my third book because it had been on a back burner. So I pulled it to the front burner and I finished the book. Use what you've got, kid, and just show up.
Use what you've got and just show up. I was doing a speech in Reno, I think it was one time, and it was an after dinner speech and everybody went out to dinner on their own. And there was a table next to me who somebody said, "Who's the next guy speaking?" And one of the other people said, "I don't know. It's one of these motivational speakers. No, one of these positive speakers." Like it was a terrible thing. And so, Lauren, I looked up the word positive, and the word positive literally means present, where negative means absent. And so this is part of my speech that I'm sharing here, and that is that it overlays with exactly what the Colonel is saying, and that is that positive people take what is present and what is working, and they build on it rather than focusing on what is negative and what is missing, which is the essence of complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Very cool. Give us another. And by the way, I just have to say, I hope you are eternally grateful to have a positive voice in your head from your dad. You are enormously blessed. I have a negative, critical voice in my head that's my dad's voice that comes out. So you are truly blessed. And what is great is that you're sharing this now with those of us who are not as fortunate. So thank you for that.
I acknowledge that, and I am tremendously grateful. I was scrambling in my head trying to decide what the third would be. I have 104, I think, published between the two books. So which is the third most important of those? I don't know. But the one that came to mind actually was not original to my father. And I will acknowledge that. He was the first one I ever heard it from. So even though I've discovered recently that within the last decade, that it wasn't original to my dad, he's the voice that I hear. And that is what you do. Speak so loudly, I can't hear what you say. Yeah. And let's piggyback on that one. Your attitude determines your altitude. Neither of those were original to my dad.
Right.
Both of them were pounded into me, figuratively, not literally, by the Colonel. I think the first one came originally from Thoreau, and the second one came originally from Zig Ziglar.
Remind us the first one again.
What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say.
I think that is why human beings are such good. We discount it, but we're kind of good BS detectors when we're around people. We can tell when what people say and what they are is inconsistent. They just put off this vibrational energy And to be in congruence is a difficult but very, very important thing. And that is so true. What you are speaks so loudly, I cannot hear,
What you do
what you do speaks
speaks so
so,
loudly, I can't hear what you say, because what you are will manifest itself in what you do.
right. Why, in your opinion, do some people struggle to be good leaders?
And there are a couple of reasons for that. Uh, the first one is because they focus too much on being managers. See, most people are promoted to a management position, and you can be a manager without being a leader. Trust me on that.
Mhm.
Um, they get promoted to that position because they are an outstanding individual contributor. They're a great software coder. They're a great HVAC tech. They are a great salesperson. And that moves them to the manager position. But the skills that got them there do them no good
Right.
once they're there. It's a completely different skill set. Uh, and many people have a very difficult time setting aside the individual contributor role. And therefore, they try to mentally, even though they're not aware of it, and therefore they try to control the individual contributions of their team. And a leader's primary responsibility is to grow others first, help others grow first. So until that clicks into their brains, they're perpetually in management mode and not in leadership mode.
It's so funny. Everything you said, I was listening to Freakonomics Radio last night, which is one of my favorite podcasts. And they were talking about the Peter Principle, the concept that we rise to the level of our incompetence, and that it is active and well in the United States for exactly what you just said. You get a person who is a great salesperson and very good at negotiating sales deals, and you put them in charge of all the other salespeople, and the skills are totally different. And the number one, they asked several people, what is the number, if you had to put management, a good leader, good manager, as opposed to a bad manager, in one word, it came down to what you're saying: compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Growing people, you've got to first and foremost be compassionate, because you've got to meet them where they are to take them where you want them to go. Wow, fascinating. Go ahead, please.
I think the second reason is people become complacent. We can become comfortable. We can become comfortable in position, power, and pay scale. And when we become comfortable, then we start worrying about the potential of losing that comfort.
Interesting.
And we stop focusing on others and focus instead on the position. And as soon as we take our eye off of helping our team grow, professionally, personally, grow in every aspect, as soon as we take our eye off of that, then we stop being leaders. And that can happen out of becoming comfortable, which then makes us paranoid is a really heavy word, but it makes us fear losing that comfort.
Well, if it's paranoid, it's paranoid. I mean, it's understandable. To me, the thing I thought was really interesting too about this interview I was listening to yesterday is that they were trying to prove whether or not having a good boss was advantageous. In other words, did it bring increased revenue, increased retention, get work done, moving in the right direction? And what they found was, and was a little interesting, in one study, they found that having a good boss increased most of those metrics by 50%. in several studies, they found that the work still got done, even with bad bosses. But the number one thing that having a good, compassionate boss did, or a good leader, was retention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about your dad as a military leader. I mean, if your troops ultimately want to get away from you and they don't feel you're connected to them, they're not going to have the connection to you and are not going to give everything that they have. Where do you see leadership going in the future, and what do you have coming up?
So I am working very, very hard to offer an alternative. I believe that much of the C-suite, not all of the C-suite, much of the C-suite that brought us out of the 20th century and dominated the first 2 decades of the 21st century, I believe they're lost. I believe they're lost to power and greed and position and that comfort factor. So I'm focused on building a brand new generation of leaders that focuses on integrity and compassion and empathy and inclusion and personal accountability. And that's where my 9 essentials of significant leadership come in. Because at first glance, they're a very 40,000 foot view of leadership. The challenge is that if you lose one of them, you lose a piece of significant leadership. And my experience has proven to me that the day-to-day deliverables, increased productivity, increased profitability, increased market share, reduced attrition, increased engagement, all of those will fall into line naturally if a leader has the filter of the 9 essentials of significant leadership in front of them at all times. So that is going to be what makes the difference going forward in the 21st century. Because with an increasingly younger workforce, which is now dominated with later millennials and Gen Z coming in, because I said so doesn't cut it.
Oh, no, it does not.
So the mindset of leadership has to shift. So that's what I'm focused on. That's what I see the future of leadership as.
And so for those of us who are the baby boomers who want to maintain, if we would like to continue as leaders, we need to adapt because the audience has shifted. And so leadership in and of itself needs to shift.
Absolutely. It has to evolve.
I have placed a link, and we're going to get to the comments in just a second, for a PDF that Lauren has provided that everyone is welcome to download. This is your chance to like, comment, and please share. This is how we build this positive online community. Lauren's website, it is laurenschieffer.com, www.laurenschieffer.com. Be sure and download the PDF that I put in there. Check out her books, The 9 Essentials. Lots of great stuff here. And as I say, the thing that is not taught in most businesses is management. And then what happens, or leadership rather. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is you take great employees and they become bad leaders, and companies can't understand that. It's estimated that the Peter Principle costs about 30 cents of every potential dollar a company can make based on what we talk. So it's important. And as I mentioned in the description, we're all leaders. So take these
choice.
Yeah. Take these principles and apply them to your life, whether you're still working or not, whether you're leading horses like Linda and leading people on trail rides or whatever it is you're doing. Remember that we are all leaders and we want to put forth our best. Lauren, thanks so much. And I always like to conclude, where are you headed next? Have you got a speaking engagement coming up?
I actually have an event that I am producing coming up. It's called the Leaders Table.
Okay.
And it is a leadership intensive, 3 hours dedicated to the 9 essentials of significant leadership. It's on Saturday, April 2nd.
Okay.
Details are on my website. If you hit the drop-down menu under presentations, there is a page there for the leaders table. So that's coming up in 2 weeks. So that is my focus right now. I do have a couple of speaking engagements in between then, and then starting in the middle of April and throughout May, I'm on the road pretty consistently speaking all over the country. But what I'm focused on right now is the leaders table, and so information about that is available on the website.
Got it. Go to the website, click the drop down menu, check out the leaders table. Lauren, thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. Thank you for
Everybody,
having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Everybody, look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No